Hello everyone. Are you okay? Are you happy? Good. So, what's the difference between modals? Do you think modals are easy to understand? Well, sometimes they may constitute a big challenge to learners of English. That's why I choose this lesson, to look into some differences between some modals, and particularly modals of obligation and absence of obligation in the past. Okay, let's go to the lesson. What do you mean by obligation? Yeah, obligation is something that is necessary to do, or you must do. You must do obligation. So to express obligation in the past, we have two modals. We have had to plus infinitive, and we have should or ought to plus have plus past participle, or what we call perfect infinitive. Now let's read these two examples. Mary was seriously ill. She had to see a doctor. Number 2, Mary was seriously ill. She should or ought to have seen a doctor. The same sentence, the same situation, but different modals. So what does it mean if you use had to? So the explanation is this. She visited the doctor. It was necessary for her to see a doctor, and she visited the doctor. For 2, the explanation. She didn't visit a doctor. She was obliged. It was necessary for her to see a doctor, but she didn't. So the difference between number 1 and number 2, between had to and should have plus past participle, is that for the first one, it was necessary, this is obligation, this is number 1, and she did the action. But for number 2, she was obliged to go to see a doctor, but she didn't. The action was not performed. Okay, this is for obligation. Now, let's go to absence of obligation. What do you mean absence of obligation? It means it is not necessary, or something that is not necessary to do. Absence of obligation. Here we have two models. We have didn't need to, or didn't have to on one part. On the other part we have needn't have plus past participle. Now again, we have two examples. James didn't need or didn't have to get up in the morning. The meeting was cancelled. Cancelled means will not take place, okay, or abandoned. Number 2, James needn't have got up in the morning. The meeting was cancelled. Same situation, different modals. What's the meaning? Now the explanation for number 1. The explanation is that James didn't get up early in the morning. It was not necessary for him to get up in the morning, and he didn't get up in the morning. Okay? For number 2, what is the explanation? James got up in the morning. It was not necessary for him to get up in the morning, but he got up. But he got up in the morning. As you can notice here, for didn't need or didn't have to, we use it for absence of obligation when it was not necessary and the action was not performed. Okay, but for number 2, it was not necessary, but the action was performed. Okay, now summary. For obligation, we can use had to plus infinitive if the action was performed action, and if the action was not performed or neglected, we use should or ought to plus have plus past participle. For absence of obligation, if the action was performed, here we use needn't have plus past participle. But if the action was not performed, it was not necessary and was not performed, we use didn't have or didn't need to, thus infinitive. Read the instruction below every question and choose the appropriate modal verb. Number 1, you didn't need or didn't have to help or needn't have helped him. So the instruction, you helped him, but he didn't need help. So here, do we have obligation or absence of obligation? If you read the instruction, it is here absence of obligation. So the question we ask here, was the action performed? Was the action performed? Yes, you helped him, means he did the action. Is it necessary? It was not necessary. So the answer is this, needn't have helped him. Number 2, she felt ill and she had to leave, should have left. I give her a lift in my car. It was necessary for her to leave and she left. So the answer is this. Number 3, I'm sorry, I have just made one copy. B, you didn't need to make 2, or you needn't have made 2. 1 is enough. It was not necessary to make 2 copies. Okay, absence of obligation. So did he do the action? It means 2 copies. No. So the answer, what is the answer here? It is this. You didn't need to make or didn't have to make 2 because it was not necessary and he didn't make 2 copies, just he made 1 copy. Now the last question, your child made a lot of mistakes in the exercise. You had to explain the instructions to him first, or you should or ought to have explained the instructions to him first. So here we have obligation to explain the instructions, but you didn't. The action wasn't performed, so the answer is this. Okay, now let's move now to the last exercise. So exercise, complete the sentences with the correct form of modals. You type the letter, it was not necessary, as I have already word processed it. Number 2, I visit Omar at home, I give him some money. Number 3, it was sunny yesterday, we take the umbrella. The flight was delayed. Delayed means postponed, but someone informed us. Number 5, I telephoned Bobby last night. He didn't like it, so I called him. So please do this exercise on your own and send me your answers. Till then, goodbye.